Hello, everyone.
We are live.
Okay, we'll go ahead and call this City of Brush Board of Adjustment meeting to order, July 7th, 2026. New business, usually we approve the minutes from the November 19th meeting, but the minutes were not ready and provided for review. So we'll jump right into public hearing. The first one is for a variance petition is filed by Antonio Garcilaso for property on 114 Cameron Street. And do you take it from here then?
Yep,
Okay.
you got it. I'm going to turn off the light so you can see that back one just a little bit more clearly. All right, well, welcome to the new board members. Thank you for your service on the Board of Adjustment. So every meeting, I'll do this. You'll become very familiar with it depending on how frequently we have these meetings. But this is not just for you, but for the public who may be watching or anybody in the audience here as well, to give an overview of the board, what the roles are, what the expectations are. So everything that I reference as it pertains to land use code or city code, it's straight out of what's been adopted by city council that essentially lays out the rules primarily for land use related matters for the Board of Adjustment. There are other potential things like high 12-inch weeds or something like that that the code enforcement, police department would enforce, and other aspects that don't fall into this realm as far as the Board of Adjustment. It's primarily Chapter 16 of the city code. So this is straight from the code there. It gives the purpose of the Board of Adjustment in language. The bottom line in the summary of that paragraph is that last line there, that the Board of Adjustment serves as an appeals process from the adopted land use standards. So if someone comes into our office with the Community Development Department, where we also have our building permitted issued, and they say, can we do this, or we did this, and we let them know you can't do that according to code. And we point to the code and explain that, and sometimes there's, okay, no problem, then I won't do it. And then other people say, well, what are my options? So if our answer is no, and they want to know if there's any other higher authority to go to, it's the Board of Adjustment, where they're appealing the land use code. And they're saying that I should be exempt from this rule because of these matters. And so that's kind of their case, is their application and what's put together on there. And so with that, it's not just a kind of a free-for-all on, well, if we feel like it or not, that there is criteria that the Board of Adjustment is responsible for filtering through those requests to determine, does it meet the thresholds of all these different things. And so I'll spend a little bit of time on this. I won't read it verbatim, but the main points are all emboldened on the screen there. So we're looking for peculiar and exceptional practical difficulties or unnecessary, unreasonable hardship that would be imposed on the property owner. The circumstances creating the hardship were not created by the applicant or the appellant. Number 3, that the property for which the variance is being requested, and this has to do with the type of the shape, topography, that kinds of things. There's really nothing in town I've ever come across where that is an issue. But if we happen to, I don't know, an earthquake happened and we had ground shooting up all over, and now people had really steep edges and things like that, where they couldn't meet code. That's kind of the gist of number 3 there. Number 4, the variance will not substantially or permanently injure the appropriate use or adjacent properties in the same district or the same area. Number 5, it's not going to diminish the value, the use, or the enjoyment of the adjacent properties, or curtail light, air, open space in the neighborhood, or change the character. Number 6, the variance will not alter the essential character of the district. So you got neighborhood and district. So the neighborhood is a couple streets. The district would be a broader area. You could almost say the city of Brush if you wanted to go that big, or maybe somewhere in between. Number 7, the variance will not weaken the general purposes of this chapter. And so if variances are given to just anything that comes through, then the overall strength of the code is kind of like, well, what's the point of the code then if everything just gets an exception? And then number 8, the variance will be in harmony with the spirit and purposes of this chapter. So however you might think that through, order, structure, harmony, all those different things, that the whole reason why people live in the city versus the county, because the county has lacks more standards, a lot the standards are a lot more lax in the county, and people like that, whereas in the city, they're typically a lot more stricter. And so that would kind of be the spirit and the purpose, is that we're not the county, we're the city of Brush. What does the city of Brush embody as far as our code and that kind of thing? And then lastly, the variance will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare. And then this is definitely a note to make, is that also in code it says, under no circumstance shall a variance be granted on the sole basis of personal convenience, profit, or special privilege to the applicant. So we'll go ahead and dive into the request. So the first one, 114 Cameron Street. This slide here, our code is requires us to send out public notifications. So there's 3 different ones. We have a posting on site, those signs at each one of the locations. We send out letters, they're typically 2 pages that give an outline, and that letter is sent to every property owner within 300 feet of that property. We get that list from the county, and so those are pictures of some of the pages of the letters that we sent out for each of these applications. And then we post it on our website as well. So that's the public hearing if you didn't go to our website on the bottom left there. Public comments, we do give an opportunity both here as well as before, up to, I think it's 5 o'clock the day of the meeting for any public comments. So they can submit those in writing, they can come in and share those with us, they can email those to us. But to date, no public comments have been received for any 3 of these applications. Now, as a footnote on that, occasionally we have people who make comments, oh, I don't know about this or that, but they're not making, like we could say, do you want to make that official public comment? I'm like, no, not. It's just passing comments. So public comment is so-and-so said this, and they're willing to say that I, at this address, have this to say about this application. So if anybody says something but they don't want to be on the record for it, it doesn't count as a public comment. So the variance application on 114 Cameron Street, this one is a variance for an accessory structure exceeding the minimum 30% of the area that's required within a rear yard of a property. This is the code reference there. It states it in bold there. An accessory structure building or buildings is how we have interpreted that internally. Shall not occupy more than 30% of the backyard, you could say, or the rear area. And then this is a reference to a section in our code that's you'll see often through these meetings. I highlighted the zoning district. Although this is a residence, it's located in a commercial core district, just a block over actually. With that, in case you're curious, there's along 34, the commercial core area, the main ones and maybe the only ones where you'll see residences in a commercial or commercial core district. And typically you think businesses, not residences. But our land use code was adopted in 2008. And so a lot of these homes existed long before then. And so it's likely that that was overlaid for future development, intending that to be more commercial, but everything else is what's called grandfathered in. So it's a legal non-conforming use, or a legal non-conforming property is the phrase for that. So if you look at code, and it's incompatible, but it was there before code, and that's what it is. But you can see through here and how it works with us when we're looking at that, since it's not a commercial property. Although it's in that district, we still view it as a residence. Because according to this, you just need a very, very tiny rear yard, just a 15-foot setback. But because of the neighborhood that's existing there, we try to stay consistent with those standards. And so kind of how we draw it out, which by the way, in your packet, you saw this as your site plan. It didn't turn out very well. So to kind of map it out a little bit differently, I threw this together. So this is the property itself. So we get the dimensions of the property. So it's 50 by 142 feet. And then how it works for the rear yard, you basically find where the back of the house is and draw a line through there. We use Google Earth as a tool, and so it's roughly 4,000 square feet in the backyard area. And you just run a simple calculation. 4,000 times 30% is 1,200 square feet. So that means that if it's supposed to be no more than 30%, then the accessory structure shouldn't be any more than 1,200 square feet that take up the backyard. Already mapped out on there, the garage is 624 square feet, so you just subtract that, which means they have 576 feet to work with. So the proposed carport is essentially that whole area right there. It kind of wraps around the garage and it's 15 feet away from the house, about 64, 65 feet long. And so you run the math on that, that is 1,200 28 square feet. And so adding that plus the garage at 1,800 square feet, and so the threshold was 1,200, so you're 652 feet above what our code allows for the rear area being covered by accessory structures. So the applicant themselves, actually I'll back up a couple slides here. This one, you can, this doesn't work on the screen, that's right. But on the north side of the property, you can kind of see, this is a driveway that stretches all the way from east to west or west to east, all the way through. So it's essentially a drive-through property. I looked through Google Maps through the years. It's been there for a very, very long time. Yeah, at least 14 years from those maps that I could see. And so obviously they're parking their vehicles, I assume in the garage as well as during that space as well. Back in, I think I have this later on in the staff report, but back in 2023, we had a big storm that came through town that did a lot of devastation because of the size of the hail. So ever since then, our office has received a lot of inquiries about carports. Everybody's wanted to protect their vehicles and their houses and other property, which is understandable. And so with this property, based on their current use for protection of their vehicles and just overall function, they want to cover again, the majority of the backyard driveway with a carport. And seemingly it would solve those issues. Snow accumulation, it's a lot of snow for them to shovel as well, in case we ever get dumped on with snow. And I mentioned in our staff report as well that I'm jumping ahead of myself, I'm sorry. So other considerations for a variance are the impact of the request on the character and compatibility of the neighborhood, as well as the intent of the code. So the residential neighborhood in this corner of town, it's a small little neighborhood because it's got commercial basically in every other, or every direction around it. So it's kind of this unique little neighborhood. It's a very historic one as far as how old it's been overall. Carports, they may not be necessarily harmonious with the neighborhood, but they're also not prohibited in code. So it's not a carport, it's the size of the carport that's in question right now. The carport itself is not likely to impact the surrounding properties in the sense of its function. It's just big. The adjacent neighbors will likely see it, obviously. So the contractor that they're looking at is the same contractor who did this carport over at 317 Everett. It's very, very similar in its size as well as its shape. This one, kind of if we're looking at it right at the front of the property, we're looking back, and it goes back behind the house, and there's a garage back there as well. So it's a really big carport. He did a good job putting it together. It doesn't look dumpy at all, in my perspective. But that was one that came before the Board of Adjustment last year, and it was approved. One of the conditions that we had on that, because that's a lot of snow that would accumulate there, as well as a lot of rain that would move in the same direction, is to factor in the drainage. One of the rules in Colorado is that you're not allowed to run water onto your neighbor's property. And so when it comes to any projects in the city, that's always a factor that we always consider. How are you going to drain the water and keep it away from the property owner? So they put a gutter system on the side of that to run it down and where it needs to go overall. So that's kind of the summary of that request there. So if the board finds that the applicant has not met the applicable standards in code for a variance, then staff recommends that it be denied. But if the board finds that it has met the standards that we talked about, then we recommend the variance request be granted with 4 conditions. 1, the variance will be invalid if appropriate permits and subsequent inspection approvals are not obtained. Number 2, an approved design for drainage is to be part of the building permitting process. 3, the variance will expire if that permit is not pulled within 1 year of approval. And lastly, the variance will expire if the permit expires prior to completion of the project. So, are there any questions for me?
I have one.
Yes.
I noticed in the beginning it says applicant is the co-owner of the property.
Yes.
Is the other co-owner in agreement with all of this?
I don't know. Typically, we have just one owner is sufficient for us.
Okay.
I think the Mary is what it is. Just his name is the application on
Okay.
it. I did look at the owner. Hopefully I'm not mixing that up with another property.
Okay.
Yeah, good question, though. Any other questions? Okay.
Okay, Antonio, would you like to present any information you have?
He's here for a different one.
Oh, you're here for a different thing, I'm sorry.
Different matter.
Sorry about that.
No way.
So that person is not here, and there's nobody here from the public to give any testimony on this property. So at this time, we can open it up for discussion on, what you think about this variance request. I mean, in my mind, I think I can see why they're requesting it, and that one they did on Everett Street is good looking, and also, to me, since that was something that we approved last year, that, it kind of goes in line that I think we should approve it. Any other discussions that you guys have?
Am I seeing correctly that it will be in the back of the property and not right up next to the white house that is right next to them?
Yeah, that's correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was worried about the little
garage, yeah.
windows. They don't have many,
Oh,
and if that was a
blocking
carport
us,
all the
sure.
way down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have any other discussions.
Can I get a motion to,
No, we want to,
Sorry.
close the public hearing first.
oh, okay, so at this time, we'll close the public hearing. And now we'll ask for a motion.
I would make a motion that we would approve it.
Get a motion to close the public hearing.
motion to close
It's
the
gotta
public
get
hearing.
approved, and then after that, a decision
Okay.
can be made by the board.
I would make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, now it's open for a motion,
Lastly, sorry, take a vote.
or we take a vote right now, okay.
Take a vote that everybody is in agreement that we close.
Oh, we got to vote on, okay, yeah, that we close the public hearing, okay. Roll call?
On this one, you can say, all those in favor say aye.
Okay, on this one. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say aye. The motion has been approved to close the public hearing at this time.
Yeah, and the only reason for that is if there was a lot of, it was kind of heated and someone wants to close it and move on, and there's still things that we got to sort out with people
Right.
or whatever. We've never come to that, but that's the reason why you close the public hearing formally.
Okay. So now we can entertain a motion to, for the variance request?
I would make a motion that we approve the variance request with the city's recommendations on it.
Can we get a second?
Other than that,
Okay, got a second? Now, roll call, right?
Yeah, or you can ask any further discussion.
Okay, any further discussion?
I'm going to come up here so that the microphone picks me up. Board Member Way? Yes or no?
Yes.
Board Member Osnes?
yes.
Board Member Olander?
Yes.
Board Member Garvick?
Yes.
Chair White?
Yes.
Thank you.
So that has been, this variance has been, request has been approved. So now we can move on to the second public hearing, which is a variance petition is filed by the Colorado Ranchers Incorporated for property address 800 South Railway Street, requesting a variance for a structure exceeding the maximum building height in an industrial zoning district in section 16-5-40.
All right. All right, so, this one overall, Colorado Ranchers, Inc., which let me speak a little bit about the company. It's somewhat relevant, because I don't think a lot of people know about it here in town. So they own and operate the building down there at 800 South Railway for cheese production. As part of their company, manufactures and distributes Queso Campesino brand cheeses, imported Mexican and Central American cheeses, Mexican foods, and Hispanic grocery items. The screenshots from their website. So as far as I know, just the Queso Campesino is located there at that manufacturing plant. If the applicant wants to speak to that later, you can. But it's great to have them in town operating. It's a primary employer, meaning that they manufacture things here, send it elsewhere, which brings new revenue into town. So those are always great to have within the community, just as a general knowledge on economic development. So the applicant is requesting approval to install a milk silo with an overall height of approximately 60 feet The additional height is necessary to accommodate the operational and sanitary requirements of the dairy processing system and associated equipment. The height of the silo is determined by industry standards, storage capacity requirements, gravity flow processes, and necessary processing equipment. Strict application of our current height limitation of 45 feet would create practical difficulties and limit the ability of the facility to efficiently operate and expand production capabilities. So on the screen, referencing the same chart that we had for the last application, I is the industrial column there. You can see on the bottom right, both the main structure and any accessory structures are limited to 45 feet within our code. And I will say that some of the limitations and restrictions and guidelines in our code, reason is not given for that. So someone might say, well, that's just an arbitrary number. Maybe, but at some point, someone decided 45 feet is tall enough for the city of Brush. Anything beyond that might, be unfitting for the character or what have you. So the silo itself, I put probably more than enough drawings and details in your packets overall, but these are the specs on them, in Spanish, by the way. Hopefully that you got to work on your Spanish if you saw that closely. The silo is currently on site. It's not currently functional. I thought it was actually installed, but because I put that in the staff report, and when I went out to take a picture of it, I saw that it's actually not installed yet. So disregard that last paragraph I put in there. That was based on a conversation with one of the employees there, thinking that it was going to be installed and just be on hold until they found out if they were going to get approved or not. So nonetheless, the silo is there, not installed. Is it sitting on its side in the back or something? That's correct. Okay. The location of it is where that spot is, in case you're curious. So railway is on the top of the picture there, so it's behind on the back side of it, so it would be tall, so you'd be seeing it stick out from the road there, but it's not up by the road or anything like that. There are some silos existing there that are smaller, shorter, so this one will be taller than those one. There is a big pad that's already been poured for that. Excuse me. That's been approved by the building department. So how this unfolded was that they came in wanting a permit to put this up, and we let them know based on the specs of it that actually you can't do it, again, because of the height, and the way to go about with that is through this process with a variance. So the concrete permit was issued for that, so they're just hoping for an approval for the installation of the silo itself. So it's fairly straightforward in our mind overall. That's obviously for the function of the business itself. It would be higher, and so it's up to the Board of Adjustment if that would be sufficient or not. Similar conditions as the last one, that if a variance, you determine it's not meeting the standards, then you would deny it. If you think it does meet the standards, we recommend that it would be approved with conditions, and those are conditions being those 4. I put 5 in there, one about drainage. That's not really relevant for this one. So the other 4 would be those which is invalid if the permits and inspections are not obtained, the building permit's not pulled within a year of approval of a variance, and the variance would expire if the permit expires before the completion of the project. And then the last one, that if any future substantial changes are proposed to the silo as determined by the community development director, city staff is authorized to determine if those changes can be approved administratively or be presented to the Board of Adjustment for approval or denial. And to paraphrase that, essentially, that we would determine if any changes are going to be made, if they're big enough for us to come back to the board and say, do you approve this or not? Or if we determine it's not that big of a change, we can just approve or deny that administratively within staff, so you don't have to worry about it in that sense. So that's the quick summary of that. Any questions? Okay.
So are you here for the applicant?
Yes.
Okay, would you like to say anything, or if you do, come up to the mic,
yeah,
yeah,
no
please.
problem.
Thanks.
So I'd like to thank you for listening to this application.
State your name, please.
Abel Robles,
Okay.
owner of Colorado Ranchers here.
Okay.
So the need for this silo is for us to be able to receive more fluid milk. The current ones that we have are 10,000 gallon silos. DFA that you see running up and down the street have, their new tankers are 10,300 gallon tankers, so pretty soon here, I'm not gonna be able to receive their tankers because they're too big. The smaller ones that I'm receiving now are obsolete, and our capacity is also growing. So for us to be able to receive more fluid milk and produce more, which, you know, bring benefits to the dairy sector here, local dairy farmers would benefit from this, and also hopefully with improved or increased capacity, we can produce more and maybe hire more people and bring more jobs to the community. So that's the reason that we're doing this. It's industry standard, and hopefully this is one of many that we continue to do as we continue to improve the facility itself and improve production capacity. So hopefully we can get it improved. Any questions from the board?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see anybody from the public here, so we don't have any testimony. Do you guys have any questions or any discussion on this variance request?
I don't think so.
I think it, you know, I'm sure if it wasn't allowed, you'd probably be paying more for your milk too, because you'd be smaller deliveries, correct?
Well, yeah, logistically, it would make it difficult to receive these large quantities
Right.
of milk.
How many employees do you have out there now? Just curious.
48 right now?
Okay. Okay, if there's no other further discussion, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I move to close the hearing.
Okay,
Second that.
okay. All in favor of closing the public hearing, say yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we'll entertain a motion to approve or deny the request for variance.
I'd make a motion to approve the variance with the city's recommendations.
I agree.
We have a motion to approve, and we've got a second, and now we'll do roll call.
Is there any further discussion before roll?
Oh, any further discussion?
All right, board member Olander,
Yes.
board member Way,
Yes.
board member Garvick,
Yeah.
board member Osmith,
Yes.
chair Wright.
Yes.
I don't know why that was so hard for me to spit that out.
Okay, now we've got a public hearing on a variance petition is filed by Wayne Sherman for property on address 521 Turner Street, requesting a variance for section 16-6-30 of an accessory structure being located in the front yard of the home and not meeting the minimum setback requirements in section 16-5-40 for a residential zoning district.
All right. Sure. So, yeah, this is right on the corner of Turner and Everett, if you did not get a chance to drive by there on the southeast corner. So our code references are two. That one's stated pretty plainly. Accessory structures cannot be located in the front yard of a principal structure. Principal structure for residences being the house, of course. And then back to that code again. This is residential low density. So you can see down there on the front yard is almost uniform across the board, with the exception of commercial court, at least 20 feet back, and then further back for some of them as a minimum. Creates space, creates a little more openness. It's not on top of you, I guess, in one sense, if you're driving by or walking on the sidewalk there. And creates that uniform space as well, which is why it's pretty consistent across most of the zoning districts. So if you did not drive by to take a look at it, this is a picture of it. I have 3 of them. So there's that one, and then these 2 here from the opposite side as well. So the background on this, in the month of May, the property owner had hired a contractor to construct / assemble the carport in the driveway. Construction was almost completed when our code enforcement drove by and asked about, do you have a permit for that project, which is pretty common for a lot of projects, because we give out permits and they typically, or they're supposed to put them up in a window or somewhere visible, so that way we know that project has been permitted. So if nothing's posted, then the question is, did you get a permit for this? None had been obtained, so the contractor came over to our department to request a permit, where he was told you cannot do that carport because it violates both of those, both the, it's in the front yard and you're not meeting the setback requirement as well. So the variance process is one that, of course, we ultimately pointed them to. And you can see through, which I didn't say this early on, but I'm sure you figured it out, that the criteria that we give out to the board to look at, we give that to every applicant as well, saying how do you respond to each of these requirements that we have. And so they fill out their responses in accordance, and then I kind of summarize those in what we have here. So they being the applicant, explains that it is preferable to access his home from the front instead of the rear, which has a detached two-car garage. The applicant has severe back issues, and the distance from the garage to the house is dirt and exposed to the elements, whereas a carport in the front provides him and a portion of the distance coverage from the elements. And the front also has a cement walkway providing a more stable walking pathway. So as it pertains to impacts to the neighboring properties in the neighborhood, this not necessarily blocking airflow or light. However, given that the 20-foot setback is a standard in the front yard of properties, the location of the carport could be viewed as intrusive to the look of the neighborhood, and if so, that could have a negative impact. Bless you. Cough.
Excuse me.
I'm not sure what. Cough, sneeze.
Sorry, yeah, a little bit of everything.
Bless you. So if so, that could have a negative impact on the character and harmony of the surrounding properties. Obviously, you can't see the whole street from this picture, but everything is set back fairly uniform, and then we have the big carport there as well. When they did come in, this was the specs that they provided. So if you're curious to know how tall it is, it's 14 feet 10 inches tall in height, and everything else that the contractor had written on there are just the materials, the details of that. It's the applicant did put in their notes that this carport is not a permanent structure, like a garage might be, and it could be removed fairly easily in the future. And I mentioned before that carports have become relatively common, so common that we brought this, it was earlier this year or last year, it might have been earlier this year, we brought to City Council a request of City Code to give a little room for carports to be viewed a little bit differently, because they're not a garage and they come in so many different ways as well. So our code is written that if you have your house, any accessory structure that's within 10 feet of the house is considered part of the house. And part of that has to, and therefore has a higher set of building material standards. And some of that has to do with the combustibility, or if the house caught on fire or the accessory structure caught on fire, that separation is not adequate or could cause the other structure to catch on fire. And so we brought the change in our code to City Council to give a little bit of room for carports where they can be constructed close to the house but not be brought up to the same standard as long as they're non-combustible materials, so metal and that kind of thing overall. There are a size limitation on our involvement where anything under 120 square feet does not need a permit in the city of Brush, any kind of structure. So smaller carports, they're beyond us saying anything about them because they just don't meet that threshold. So if you drive around town and you see the little small ones in the front yard, it's because they're small and there's nothing we can say about them. But bigger ones, we do have the authority to say something about them. And so the length on this one, I think is it on here somewhere? 36 feet, 9 inches, 9.5 inches long, and then again 14 feet high, 12 feet wide. So a pretty good size structure overall. So yeah, so I guess that's kind of the summary of of this one here. So same idea overall, you can approve or deny, or approve with conditions, and then if you do want to approve this, then these are the conditions that we recommend. That it be invalid if the appropriate permits and inspections are not obtained. that the variance will expire if the permit is not pulled within 1 year. The variance will expire if the permit expires prior to completion of the project, and the carport shall not be replaced by another. And that is the summary on 521 Turner Street. Any questions?
You mentioned that they got brought up to the city about the carports. Did they approve or deny, or? as far
Oh,
as,
with the
like-
code changes?
With the
Yeah.
code changes.
Council did approve that.
Oh,
Yeah, that has been implemented, but this one still violates both the setback
right.
as well as the accessory structure being in the front yard itself.
What about the height? Is that,
The height, it does not exceed the height for accessory structures. It's 15-foot limit, so it's just underneath that.
so if we don't approve the request for variance, does that mean the structure would have to come down?
That's correct. And it's worth noting that we try to communicate to our citizens that before you begin a project, find out if it's allowed, if permits are required, to save you the headache from having to unscramble eggs.
And I would also think that contractors would know that already, in my
Absolutely. Yeah, and we actually implemented
mind.
fees recently too for both homeowners and contractors if they build without pulling a permit. Up to $1,000 fine is what we can charge administratively, and then there's subsequent fines as well for lack of compliance.
Are health conditions considered something to consider in this situation or not?
That's a good question.
So that is a good question. So on the property itself, you have building code standards, which are for the general safety of the residents there. There's ADA allowances that are given, but that's kind of nestled within building code anyway. And so anything beyond that, there would have to be, I think, a hard case to justify it actually being allowed. And there's somewhat discretion, I think, on that as well. I mentioned at the very, very beginning, this reference in code, under no circumstance shall a variance be granted on the sole basis of personal convenience, profit, or special purpose of the applicant. And so, take that as you will for any request.
So I know part of it is that it's not supposed to be in the front yard at all, but would there be room to move it back to meet the 20-foot threshold
No.
to approve just the being in the front and it get moved to the right distance, or not?
No.
There's not. It's
Yeah,
right.
so
The picture is kind of hard to tell at the right angle if there's any room.
Yeah,
behind it or
I
not.
agree, yeah, so here's the front yard here, so the driveway goes up to the house essentially.
That's right up
No room on the side. And then corner lots, you're required to have basically 2 front yards, so 2 setbacks, 20 feet and 20 feet there. And so the only spot we do back here, and again, they have a garage back here already, but that was their express concern, is not having no paved area to walk back there, no coverage as well.
So if this was approved, would we be setting a precedent for others to get away with this?
Possibly.
Judging by the picture here, it looks like there's already kind of a carport beside the house. Looks like there's already kind of a carport right there.
No. You might be right on that. I didn't catch that before.
Yeah, I didn't remember seeing that, but
Yeah, there might be on the south side of the house, a carport.
so can we have further discussions while you're still up there in case other questions come up? Is that-
Absolutely.
I feel, this is a hard one. This is one of the tougher ones that I've been on. I feel bad for the homeowner. I drove by that area this morning, and I think it does look intrusive to the area. There are some other carports on that same street, but they're not right in front of the house. they're to the side of the house, then they're not as tall and they're not as long. It's just, you know, I don't know what the rest of you think.
I do think that the height of it does make it look a lot worse. And then you look at the house next to it, with it being that tall and having sides going down
Mhm.
it does kind of block sunlight and stuff.
Right.
I think it's very overwhelming to their neighbor.
Very
It overwhelms
much.
the
Agree.
whole area for their neighbor next door. Can that carport be lowered? I know he has a truck, it looks like there's trucks, but it's still, could it be lowered and be more acceptable, or?
It would still violate both of the variances,
setback.
yeah, both the setback and it being in the front yard. Yeah, so the height itself is actually not
Not the problem.
the problem.
Just makes it look
It looks more
terrible.
like a farm grade carport. It doesn't look like a carport. It looks like something you'd have on a farm for a truck or,
I see.
you know, something like that.
I pulled up Google Maps to see if I could get a better view of the potentially existing carport, and I can't tell. The car's in the way on one side and the tree's in the way on the other side.
Any more discussion? Okay, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
I motion to close the public hearing.
Can I get a second?
I'd second that.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The motion's been made, seconded, and passed that we close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to approve or deny the request?
I move that we approve or deny the request.
Which one?
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry.
Oh, which one?
Yeah.
Oh, I have to pick.
You raised your hand.
I guess I would move to deny.
Can I have we have a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Okay. Roll call now.
Board Member Osnes?
No.
This is
No.
on the motion.
Motion,
Do you
yes, on
agree
this
with the
motion.
motion?
Yes.
I should have said that.
That's okay. Board Member Garvick?
Yes.
And actually, I should have specified that before I came up here. I'm sorry, everyone. Board Member Way?
Yes.
Board Member Olander?
No.
Do you agree or not agree with your motion?
Oh,
the
this is the
question.
motion. I agree with my motion.
Okay. And Chairman White?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So it's been moved and passed to deny the variance request. So that's it on the public hearings, correct?
Yep, that's it.
Now, that's the first time I've been here for 3.
Okay, yeah, typically it's one, maybe two at a meeting, but since we didn't have enough members for a while, they were stacking up, so.
And I think it is good, I did finally take the time to drive by these places, and I think that really helps. You know, you can only do so much with your maps, and you do a really good job with it, but I think it helps to see
I agree.
the sites too,
I agree.
if you guys get a chance. Okay, we'll move to unfinished business. We have none,
We have none, that's correct.
so can we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
A second?
What doesn't that?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Nobody's here. So at this time, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.